Welcome to Foster Talk with Dr. John, Tuesday night, June the 28th, 2022. To think about that there. Hey, welcome. So glad you're here this tonight. This is your foster parent support group live. Think of it as your foster parent support group. I'm your host, Dr. John DeGarmo, founder and director of the Foster Care Institute, foster parent to 60 plus children who come through my own home. You know the story if you've read any of my books, up to 11 kids at the same time in my house. I know how difficult, I know how crazy, I know how challenging it is to be a foster parent. That's why I value this time with you, my friend. So glad you're here tonight. Thank you for joining us. We got a whole bunch of questions that we're going to be diving into. But three rules first. Here are three rules. Rule number one is this. Hey, no questions off limits. You want to talk about foster care, you want to talk about adoption, parenting, kinship, you want to ask questions about my own foster parenting experience, my own adoption experience. I want to hear about the new book I'm running with celebrity actress Jen Lilly, or the movie I'm going to be premiering in about a couple weeks time. No questions off limits. Get those fingers flying. Ask anything you want during the next 30 minutes. Think of again as your foster parent support group. Rule number two. If you know of somebody who's a foster parent or a kinship parent or adoptive parent and you think they need help, invite them in. Ask them to come join us, because here's the thing. No one understands your lifestyle. That's right. It's a lifestyle. Foster parenting is a unique lifestyle that no one really understands unless it's another foster parent. So any foster parents you know, tag them, invite them to join us so we can come together as a support group. Rule number three. If somebody asks a question in the next 30 minutes or makes a statement, you think, Dr. John, wait a minute, Dr. John, I think I know the answer. I've been there, done that. I would like to give my opinion. Hey, we want to learn from you. I was just in Pennsylvania. I've been in Texas recently, been in Alabama recently, and doing speaking events. Hey, Drew, so glad you're here this night, Drew. Corinthia, glad you're here this night, too. Chrissy, glad you're here tonight, too. And I see Noah's here, and Cheryl, thank you for joining us. So I was saying, what I love, I love speaking at events, but more importantly, I love to, after the events, when I get to listen to your stories, you share some of your concerns, I'm answering your questions. I like to be surrounded by people who have walked in my shoes, because we can relate to each other, validate each other. It's a support group. So tonight, for the next 30 minutes, whatever you are struggling with, whatever you need help with tonight, we're here to answer your questions. Hey, Drew, glad you're here this tonight. So glad you're here. Danny Van is here tonight. Hey, Danny, glad you're here this tonight. Check out Danny Van on Facebook. He does some amazing stuff in foster care. He's got a great book that I want you to check out too, okay? All right, let's dive into our questions again. Keep those questions, no questions off limits. Go ahead and ask anything you want. Get those fingers flying. We're here to answer questions the next 30 minutes. Malika asks this: how do I stop questioning if I made the right decision? Malika, that's a really difficult question to answer. Appreciate you asking. There have been times, Malika, let me ask you, I'll be honest with you. There have been times, Malika, where I have wondered, am I making a difference? There have been times where I've thought, can I keep doing this? There have been times where I've questioned the system. There have been times where I thought, this is so hard. At the same time, Malika, it's been the most relevant thing I've ever, most rewarding thing I've done. Every child's made me a better person in some time. But there's some times, though, when we're burned out, when we're suffering from intense loss or grief because maybe a child recently left their home. Maybe we just need a little break. So if you're feeling that, it's okay, Malika, to say, you know what, I need to take a pause on this. I need to take a little break. I need to have some respite care, or I need to have some self-care. Malika, here's the truth. If you can't care for yourself, there's no way that you can care for the children placed in your home, right? So it's okay to have some of that self-care. It's okay to take a little break. Hey, Elise, so glad you're here tonight, Elise. Appreciate you asking. All right, Drew's here. Drew, welcome to Foster Talk with Dr. John. My 12-year-old foster son has a big issue with following rules and expectations, very normal, specifically regarding video games. Hey, that's the culture today. It creates an argument every day and is close to disrupting. What can I do or try with him while he's in my home? Well, Drew, we got a great book. I think I may have a couple copies left. It sells out all the time. It's called Keeping Foster Children Safe Online. Keeping Foster Children Safe Online, and it has a list of rules when it comes to online technology, social media, and video games. To begin, and also we have in the book the Foster Parenting Manual right behind me. Let me see, is it there? Oh, right there. There it is. I sold a bunch of copies today earlier. There's a bunch of rules and regulations for foster parents. So begin with, you need to limit time. Say, hey, here, really, happy to have you play these games, but there's a limited time. From 12 to 1 in the afternoon, or from 1 to 3. Maybe 1 hour a day or 2 hours a day. I wouldn't go any beyond that. In our house, it's a 1 hour a day for electronics. I have these, and also in the book Keeping Foster Children Safe Online, there's a list. There's a contract that you and the child sign an agreement. All right, and you put it next to your computer or the video games. And if you should break that agreement of any kind, then there's of course consequences. So you need to sit down with him and let him know what your family rules are, your expectations are, how many hours he thinks is okay to play, how many hours you think is okay to play, and maybe you come to a compromise of some sort. But again, I want to go past 2 hours. He shouldn't be playing these games at night either in his room, okay? In fact, he shouldn't be playing them in his room at all unless you've got to supervise, you've got to monitor, especially if he's 12 years of age. The frontal cortex is not formed yet. Its effect is a long ways from forming. He's not going to be able to make rational decisions. So if a predator should find him online, and these predators lurk online in these online game chats, and they look for vulnerable kids, like probably your son, foster son, he could develop a relationship with him and be groomed. So you've got to monitor what games he's playing to make sure that these are not dangerous games or games that are against what you wish. Monitoring who he might be communicating with on social media as well. Have a time limit. Let him know the expectations of your house. Let him know the consequences of your house. And if he can't follow them, then it's okay to take the device away. It will be difficult, yes. I understand it will be. Listen, I've been there. I have been there. Really appreciate you asking, Drew. And I know how hard it is. Again, check out the book, Keeping Foster Children Safe Online. I think you're going to find a lot of strategies in there. And of course, the Foster Parenting Manual has a whole list of rules and policies not policies, but rules you should have in your house as a foster parent. So glad you're here with us tonight. Thank you for joining us. All right, let's going on to some of our additional questions here. Okay, Lisa's here. Lisa says, I love our signed agreements. They have truly helped, allows playing with boundaries. Absolutely true. Elise, thank you for adding that there. And Drew, let me know if that makes thank you, Drew. Appreciate it. Thank you. Drew, you might want to check out Here the Foster Care Institute. Here the Foster Care Institute. We have a couple webinars you might want to watch. Okay. Positive Parenting Solutions. Rules, I think it's called Rules and Expectations for Foster Children or Children in Foster Care. He's 12 years of age, and beginning of teenage years. You might want to look at Parenting Troubled Teens. Those are 3 webinars I would encourage you to watch. And Drew, if for some reason you're not one of the 12,000 plus foster parents that are already a special member of the Foster Care Institute, I encourage you to join. That way you'll get unlimited access to all of our training webinars, over 65 hours of online training webinars, 15 free ebooks, and you get your licensing and CEU hours right there as well. So if you're not a member, let me know, Drew. I'll send you a link and you can join tonight. You will not regret it, I promise you. Okay, Matt says, how do you get your family to understand why you want to foster without getting judged? Matt, I've been there myself. I'm still there. How do you get your biological kids not to have a hard time when their foster child leaves? Well, Matt, appreciate you asking, Matt. We need to understand that the kids in care, our own children, are going to form relationships with these children. They're going to bond. They're going to see them as, siblings. They're going to grow to love them as members of the family. Drew, I'm so glad you remember. Thank you for that. So it's normal. It is very normal, Matt, for your own children to have feelings of grief and loss when the kids leave. You need to give them time to properly grieve. That means you don't rush into the next placement. You don't rush in the next child coming into your home. You need to allow the child to grieve. Also, allow your children to express their feelings. Tell them it's okay to feel this way. Tell them it's expected to feel this way. As far as your own family members, you know what? They're going to judge you anyways. They judge me. Listen, I've written 12 books, my doctorate in foster care. I've done a TED Talk. I've traveled around the world speaking at events, right? And my own family members sometimes ask, why do you keep doing this? So you might want to express to them that this is what you're doing, that there's such a need. I've got a couple articles on my website, Matt, that might help you. You can also your biological family members, Matt, your family members, that, hey, not everybody can be a foster parent, but with 5 million children experiencing domestic violence in our own nation every year, with 300,000 children victims of human trafficking in our nation every year, 500,000 kids in foster care, even though they might not be a foster parent, the abuse is happening where they live in their community, and they can help in some way without being a foster parent themselves. Really glad you asked, Matt. Thank you so much for being here. And I hope that helped. Hey, Tara, welcome to Foster Talk with Dr. John. So glad you're here this night. Thank you for joining. Hey, this is Foster Talk with Dr. John. I'm your host, Dr. John DeGarmo, founder and director of the Foster Care Institute. Before I answer Tara's question, let me give a quick plug here. Quick plug, okay? A little advertisement, if you will. So earlier this morning, our newest Foster Care Institute newsletter went out to over 20,000 subscribers. It's absolutely free. If you don't get it, you missed out on the weekly foster care news of the week, the foster care 101 video tip, the webinar of the week, the motivational moment of the week, the foster care archive article of the week, and so much more. I want to make sure that you get it. You need to have it. Type in I want newsletter, put your email address. I want newsletter, put your email address. We'll make sure that you get that newsletter first thing tomorrow morning. All right, Tara, welcome to Foster Talk with Dr. John. I have a sibling set of 4 that need constant attention. They have been with me 2.5 years, and we're heading towards adoption. They fight constantly with one another unless I'm playing with them. Laundry, cooking, and everything else doesn't get done with I'm playing. What can I do? Tara, I know how hard this is. Listen, I've had as many as 11 kids in my house at the same time, so I know how challenging it is, and I've had that as well. So, there's a lot of things that you can do in your own home, okay? For example, you could institute some type of play therapy where the kids play. Maybe you could have some musical instruments, harmonicas, maybe guitars or something like that, for some music therapy. Get them to do some art for some art therapy. They're healing while they're doing this playing. And you can, while you're doing laundry or cooking, they can sit at the table and maybe do some coloring. Right? Or maybe they can play a board game together. That's play therapy. That's art therapy, music therapy. Maybe they can play the harmonicas are great. I've got a whole set. Very inexpensive. They can play that. I know the noise gets you after a while. I would encourage you, Tara, check out a couple webinars of ours. Positive Parenting Solutions. Okay, Positive Parenting Solutions. Child Development Part 1, Child Development Part 2. Those are 3 webinars I would point you to right now that might give you some help. If they are arguing, if they're doing some arguing, and they're fighting, hey, consider time in, not time out. Time in. Time in is different than time out. Time out, the child is isolated, and if they're in foster care and they've suffered abuse or anxiety, they might feel that they're being rejected. So time in is something that kind of similar, but it's different. We go into great detail in the book, The Foster Care Survival Guide, okay? And with time in, the child is placed in proximity to you. Maybe they're at the table while you're doing laundry. Maybe they're at a couch while you are cooking dinner. Maybe you're sitting together at a table. Maybe you're at the couch reading a book. Child sitting there. The child is with you for a period of time. It allows them to reflect on what they did. It allows them to feel still safe and secure with you, okay? And then after a while, you can talk with the child about what they may have done and what the consequence is, all right? So again, there's a whole bunch of information in the book, The Foster Care Survival Guide, and we also have a webinar on it, and several webinars on it, actually, Tara, at the Foster Care Institute. Hopefully, Tara, you are already a member. Again, over 12,000 members of the Foster Care Institute. You need training hours this year? Hey, you get them right there. Again, appreciate you asking. Danny loves time in. It's a great method. Appreciate that, Danny. Thank you so much for your insight there. Taylor, welcome to Foster Talk with Dr. John. I appreciate you being here. How would you suggest we refer to our foster newborn baby with our bio kids and family? Our last placement was older kids, and it was their choice to call us mom and dad and refer to themselves as sibling to our bios. It's great. I'm unsure if it's insensitive to do the same with a baby since he can't exactly tell us what he wants, but being that he's treated as our child in every way, I find myself wanting to refer to him as brother or son. What are your thoughts? Well, Taylor, it's a great question. When you're talking to other people, you simply say, this is little Scotty. Scotty is living with us at the moment. Or we're so happy to have Scotty being part of our family right now. That's how you refer to it. For me, I might say, hey, this is little Susan. I'm so glad Susan's part of our family right now. As far as the baby itself, well, you can just refer to you from in our house, Taylor. In our house, when a child comes to our home, we introduce ourselves as I'm Mr. John and my wife is Miss Kelly. Mr. John, Miss Kelly. We tell the kids they can call us whatever they want as long as it's appropriate. Now, I've been called Dr. John, Mr. John, Dr. Daddy, Papa John, Papa Doctor, Uncle John, Uncle Doctor, and probably other things as well. But we introduce ourselves as Mr. John, Miss Kelly, and you might refer to that child that way. All right. And just tell them that you know what you're part of your family, and that you love this child. So glad you asked, Taylor. Appreciate you. Hey, Tara says, I'm a member and appreciate you. Tara, thank you so much. So check out those webinars. Let's see. Somebody asked me a question about the newsletter. So I've lost the question. I don't see it here right now, but the question was, I believe, let's see. I'm not seeing the question there. Okay. Drew says, how can I change my email that connected to my foster care institute account? Drew, just simply send me an email. Let me know if there's a change and what you want to be changed to. Okay. Very simple. Appreciate you asking, Drew. Elise says, for any seasoned foster families who are newly starting, I wish I had Dr. John's tips and support groups when I fostered. I believe if I did, I would still be fostering today. Elise, thank you for that. I appreciate that. Hey, this is Foster Talk with Dr. John. For the next, time is flying tonight. Next 15 minutes, we're answering your questions here live. No questions off limits. No questions dumb question. You want to ask how I've been a foster parent to 60 plus kids, how I've had as many as 11 in my house at the same time? I know, insane. 7 in diapers at the same time? I know, crazy. How I've grieved and mourned. If you saw my TED Talk, you know I've had those experiences. You know why I'm driven. You want to ask some of my books. You want to ask about whatever you want to ask. No questions off limit. Remember the golden rule. No question's a dumb question unless you already know the answer, right? Hey, Leslie, so glad you're here with us tonight. I see that Dr. James is here. Dr. James, welcome. Dr. James is in charge of a fantastic organization out of Texas called Lone Star Social Services. I had the wonderful pleasure of working with the staff at Lone Star Social Services. If you are in Texas and you are a foster parent, consider working with Lone Star Social Services. They do an outstanding job. Okay. All right, let's get into your questions here. This is, again, Foster Talk with Dr. John answering your questions. And our next question comes to us from Denise. How do I start organizing how to set house rules or tasks? Our sons are 9 and 12, but we're taking in 10 and up. Danielle, thank you so much for asking. You need to, when a child's first placed in your home, those first few days, it's a time of confusion. It's a time of anxiety. It's a time of they're scared. They're concerned. They're worried. They're thinking, will I ever see my family members again? Do my parents still love me? Who are these strange people? So they need to learn, as you hear my phone in the background there, I apologize. When the children first come to your home, they need to first of all understand that they're going to be safe. So those first few days, you're very patient with them. You're very understanding. After a few days, then you sit down with them and say, hey, here are our expectations. Here are our house rules. We have these expectations in place. We have these house rules in place to keep everybody safe and to keep our family going in a sane way, right? Sane fashion. And let them know that, these are what you expect from them. These are the rules for everybody, right? For everybody. If you have your own children, they should have the same sort of rules, right? No different. And you let them know what some of the consequences might be. And every time they break a rule, just remind them what the rule is and remind them that, you still care for them, you still love them, they're still very important, they're not a bad child, they just made a poor choice. Here's the consequence, whatever your consequence might be, and then you move on. Continuing to be supportive, continuing to be compassionate, and be patient with them as well. Be patient with them as well, Danielle, because many of the kids who come through my home have never had any rules, have never had any expectations in their household. They have been ruleless, if you will. So it's going to take time for them to understand that, oh, this family has these rules. These are the expectations placed upon me. These are the rules placed upon me. So again, it's going to take some time. That's why it's so important for you to be patient with them. That's why it's so important for you to be compassionate and understanding during what's going to be a very difficult time for them, right? Hey, appreciate you asking, Danielle. Thank you for being here tonight. Hey, this is Foster Talk with Dr. John. Get those fingers flying here. We got about 10 more minutes left. 10 more minutes. I want to make sure that we get your question in tonight. Now, again, earlier tonight I mentioned the Foster Care Institute newsletter. If you don't get the newsletter, the Foster Care News of the Week, the webinar of the week, the Foster Care 101 videotape, and the video tip, and so much more, I want to make sure that we share it with you. So type in I want newsletter, put your email address, I want newsletter, put your email address. We'll make sure you get that newsletter free tomorrow morning, first thing in the morning, right? Okay. Now, going back to your questions here, remember, no questions off limits. I want to make, and I want to tell you, foster parenting is the hardest thing I've ever done, my friends. It's the hardest thing I've done. There have been times where I've wanted to quit. So I understand what you're going through. Cammie's here. Cammie, welcome to Foster Talk with Dr. John. I'm so glad you're here. Cammie asks this: why do the children's guardian ad litem not have to meet the children or the foster parent? So in court, how can they testify on behalf of a child they don't know? The guardian ad litem is a child's lawyer and their voice, but in my 7 years of a foster parent, I have never spoken to one, and I've tried. Cammie, to begin with, I don't know what state you're in, Cammie, but that's very unusual. That's very unusual. Cammie, I don't have an answer for that, to be honest with you, Cammie, because most times the guardian ad litem or the CASA should be meeting with the child at least once, right? At least once, so they can develop a relationship with the child, so they can properly represent the child in court. Now, you said the child is the guardian ad litem is not met with the child. I'll tell you this, Cammie. I'll tell you this, Cammie. I have over 60 plus kids in my house. I have maybe 10 CASAs. We have been woefully underserved with CASAs. We don't have guardian ad litems here in Georgia. We have CASAs, court-appointed special advocate. Court-appointed special advocate. They're very similar to a guardian ad litem. There's similarities, right? So what I would encourage you to do, Cammie, is to call up that guardian ad litem. Well, shoot him an email, shoot him a text, or better yet, call him up and say, hey, I think it's important you meet with this child. When is a good time for you to come and visit with the child? When's a good time for you to come and meet this child that you're representing? Not can you, but you're saying when is a good time. So you're putting it in the spot. You're putting it in the spot, so they've got to come up with a time. If you said, can you come and meet the child? They might say, no, I can't, I'm too busy. Instead, you say, hey, I think it's important that you meet with the child. We've been waiting for you. When's a good time for you to do that? We'd love to, we'll be happy to schedule, we'll be happy to open our calendar up for you. All right. That's how I would approach it, Cammie. Again, guardian ad litems should be meeting the child at least once. All right. Tracy's here. Tracy, we'll get you that newsletter. Look for it first thing tomorrow morning. Elena's here. Elena, welcome tonight. Elena reminds us the 3 most important things about foster parenting: documentation, documentation, documentation. Tonight, or earlier today, we had 7 people sign up and download our foster parent documentation book. Do you have that book? It is so important that you properly, and I mean properly, document what's happening in your house. Documentation, proper documentation. Hey, Mary Alice, so glad you're here tonight. Proper documentation will help to protect you and your family from any false accusations, from any false allegations that might be made to you and your family by the child, or the birth parents, or biological family members. All right, so make sure you properly document. The foster parent documentation book, you can download it, has all the files, forms, ledgers, documentation forms, and it tells you exactly what to document, when to document, how to document, and why to document, and a whole lot more. It's very inexpensive. It's probably the most important book you can get as a foster parent. And again, you can download it here. Just go to the Foster Care Institute, go to the store and get the documentation book. Hey, Drew, we'll get that newsletter to you tomorrow morning. Appreciate you asking. Hey, we got a few more minutes here, maybe about 5 more minutes here. We want to answer your questions. What do you need help with tonight? Hey, Leslie, glad you're here tonight, Leslie. Rachel, I'm so glad you're here with us tonight as well. What do you need help with tonight? What is the number one thing you're saying, Dr. John? I just don't think I can do this anymore. Are you struggling with the children who have issues of attachment? Are you struggling with the children who have issues of rage? Are you struggling with the birth parents, the caseworkers, the system in general? We're here to help you out. Mary Alice asks this. Hey, Mary Alice, I'm so glad you're here. Do you think the foster care system is about to be overloaded based on Roe versus Wade being overturned? Mary Alice, I'm so glad you asked that. It's a very relevant question right now. I've had a number of reporters call me up, email me, text me, contact me, asking me that very same question. In fact, I suspect you're going to be seeing a number of articles coming out with online from journalists with me making those quotes. Do I think so, Mary Alice? I was telling the journalists that, let's go back to 2018, 2019. The foster care system was already overwhelmed with kids coming in due to the opiate epidemic, but there were not enough foster parents. Then we chose to live in fear over COVID, and we chose to shut down schools, which meant 5 million children who experience domestic violence in their homes every single year were locked in their homes, trapped in their homes with their abuser. They did not see those mandated reporters. They did not see those who are teachers or caseworkers. Suicide attempts have gone up. Depression's gone up. Anxiety's gone up. Abuse has gone up. Teenage addictions have gone up. And during COVID, foster parents were quitting because it was so hard. So foster care was in crisis then. Now we don't have enough foster parents, and we're seeing more kids coming into care once it's opening back up again, and we still don't have enough foster parents. So will Roe versus Wade bring an additional stress upon foster care? I believe so. I believe so. But again, the system's already overwhelmed. Caseworkers and agencies are overworked, overwhelmed, under-resourced, underpaid, understaffed, undersupported. And they're struggling with this. They're struggling with the opiate addiction. They're struggling with COVID and post-COVID. They're struggling with more kids coming in. And then we have Roe versus Wade. So it's a system that is so struggling. Really appreciate you asking that. Mary Alice. It's going to be interesting to see what happens in the next few months in that regard. Hey, Dusty, I'm so glad you're here, Dusty. Welcome to Foster Talk with Dr. John. Dusty's working on a book. It should be coming out in the next couple months. Make sure you check that book out. Hey, Margie, glad you're here this night. Welcome to Foster Talk with Dr. John. I'm new to this and have my great niece in Florida. Hey, I'll be in Orlando in 2 weeks, a foster care event. I'm hearing that their TPR, termination of parental rights, the parents are still able and sometimes required to see the child. Is this true? Also, how soon after TPR does it take to adopt? Margie, thanks for asking. It's different in every state, Margie. Every state has its own different policies and practices in this regard. The parents still required to see the children? Not necessarily. Not necessarily, Margie. In fact, when the child is adopted, you pretty much get to set in many states, Margie. Now, Florida may have changed, but I don't think they have. I could be wrong. You might want to look into this. But you set the parameters in regards to visitation. All right. I go into this in a number of books and webinars. Listen, I've adopted 3 from foster care. Visitations are still important. They're still important post-adoption. How soon after TPR does it take to adopt? It depends. How closed were your courts during COVID? Do they have a huge amount of cases to catch up to? Okay. That's the number one question I'd have. How far behind is your court from COVID? How many cases and adoption cases they still have to catch up on? Generally, it's 18 months, generally, but it could be much quicker than that. For me, I think mine were about a year. I've adopted 3. So appreciate you asking, Margie. Margie, here's my biggest concern, though, Margie. Please listen to me. Please listen to me very carefully, Margie. This is important for you to recognize. 65% of adoptive parents, got that? 65% of adoptive parents, Margie, experience post-adoption depression syndrome. Post-adoption depression syndrome. That means just because an adoption go through, it does not mean it's going to be a happy ending ever after, right? There is sure to be, adoption is a time of loss for the child, and the child is most likely going to experience some type of post-adoption depression syndrome at some time, in some way in their life. But you also have a likelihood, a good likelihood, because again, 65% of experiencing post-adoption depression yourself. Most adoptive parents don't recognize this. So Margie, here's what I want you to do tonight. It's going to take you 40 minutes, Margie. Tomorrow, this weekend, at the Foster Care Institute, we have a webinar called Post-Adoption Depression Syndrome. It's for you. It's for you, designed for people like you. Now, hopefully, Margie, you're already a member of, we have 12,000 members, Margie, who get unlimited access for 12 months to over 65 hours of online training webinars to get your certification, to get your licensing, to get your CEUs, printable certificates, 15 free ebooks, and so much more. I'm hoping, Margie, that you're already a member. If you're not, Margie, let me know. I'm going to send you a link so you can join tonight, but you need to watch that webinar, not only for the child, but for you and your family. Okay, wow, time is already up. Let me see if I can squeeze one more question here. Elise says, is there any entities above state level that we as foster parents can talk with about county level DSS program problems? Well, you're asking about county level, but the state level. Well, you can talk, what I do often is I talk to local legislators and state legislators and federal legislators all across the country. In fact, I will be meeting hopefully soon with a couple governors about Roe versus Wade and foster care. You talk to your local legislators. Talk to your local legislators about reform. Okay. All right. Elise says we've adopted 9 children, so many changes, of course. Oh, absolutely, absolutely, Elise. Thank you for asking. Hey, our time has flown by. I'm so surprised how quickly it's flown by. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here tonight. I'm so grateful for you spending some time. We're gonna do this again next Tuesday night. Next Tuesday night, right here. Remember, if you don't get the Foster Care Institute newsletter, I want you to get it. Everything you need to know every single week about foster care, absolutely free. Type in I want newsletter, put your email address, foster care news of the week, the webinar the week, the foster care 101 videotape, the video lesson, the motivational moment, the archive of the week, and a whole lot more. You need to get it. Also, if you want to order some of those books behind me, go to the Foster Care Institute newsletter store, and I'll send you a signed copy tomorrow. I'm sending out a number of signed copies of this book right here and a whole bunch of other ones as well. Finally, if you're not a member of the Foster Care Institute, as a special member for the webinars, you need to become a member. It's quite simple. Unlimited access, all the webinars you need to keep licensed. All right, my friends, it is past time. I'm so glad you're being with us tonight. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for your questions. And most importantly, thank you for caring for children in crisis. Make no mistake. Make no mistake. You are, without a shadow of a doubt, changing the life of a child, changing the world for a child in crisis by all that you are doing. So for the Foster Care Institute, I'm Dr. John DeGarmo. Until next Tuesday night, cheers. Oh, that's water, by the way. 8 glasses a day. See you next Tuesday night.